We did the largest survey of its kind ever done, 3 languages, English, Spanish, French, for our Transformational Discipleship Initiative, additional research for our groups study. And here's some of the things that we found numerically that were really stunning. For example, if you ask the people to agree or disagree, somewhat or strongly, I intentionally spent time with other believers to help them grow in their faith. Because people who don't go to groups say, well, I'm spending time with others.
Sure.
Well, no, they're not. I mean, they say, you can see it on the screen. Look at the bottom one says, I intentionally spend time with other believers in order to help them grow in their faith. Triple the numbers. So listen, don't buy the idea that people are saying, well, I'm doing this. No, groups is an intentional strategy of church. The one above that, about twice, of that says, I intentionally make time in my schedule to fellowship and interact with other believers. Okay, good. But let's take a look at relationships. I have developed significant relationships with people in my church. Okay, look at these are all what we call statistically significant at the inferential level. Or I'm intentionally putting my spiritual gifts to use serving God and others. Here's the thing, I want you to miss this. If you don't have enough people who are teaching kids or working with students or engaging in the hurting in the community, the answer statistically is to get them in groups.
That's right.
Because they're not, and this is so key, because when you're in a church, you can be in proximity to somebody, but not be in community with somebody. Right, so we have a studio audience here right now, and there's different people from different states who come in. They might not know each other at all. They can be in proximity, but not in community. But when you're in community, you talk with each other about the things you're hearing. You provoke, Hebrews 10:24. You provoke one another to love and good deeds.
Right.
A couple other stats. I'm intentionally putting my spiritual gifts to use serving God and others. The next one, I intentionally try to get to know new people at my church.
Right.
People in groups are trying to build relationships, get other people in groups. Or throughout the day. This to me is the one that's kind of the drop the mic.
That's
it
right.
says, throughout the day, I find myself thinking about biblical truths. I would think that every pastor would want the majority of their people to be thinking about this. If you want the majority of your people thinking about biblical truths throughout the day, you need them in small groups, because the minority outside of groups are thinking about things all during the day. The majority, the strong majority, 3 out of 4.
That's good. That's right.
And so this is, it's now again, you laid out, Eric, a convincing biblical case that I hope, if people weren't convinced, that they left convinced. But we're beginning with an assumption here, biblically, that community, that they would think of the circle, not the row.
Yeah.
That therefore, in the culture where we find ourselves, unless we go to a house church model, which none of us would be, we would be excited. You did some of that in Africa when you were planting churches there. We've encouraged that in other places. But if you're not at a house church level, you need to ask the question, what is the vehicle that people are going to have move from proximity to community, if it's missional communities, Sunday school, small groups, whatever it is, and how are we moving people from sitting in rows to sitting in circles so they can provoke one another to love and good deeds and live on mission.
Yeah.